well, everyone who watched Tuesdays with Morrie in Singapore were quite moved by the relationship between Morrie and Mitch. And I mean, we had a lot of tears at the end of the show, because it really kind of dug deep into their own histories or their own relationships. And I think viewers would be interested to know if that's all true. Did that deep friendship between or relationship between Mitch and your dad exist outside of the novel and obviously the play?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's all completely based on fact. The deep friendship between my father and Mitch, as described in the book, and I think to a certain extent in the play, it didn't start when my father got ill. The whole story is that Mitch and my father were very close when Mitch was a university student at Brandeis University, which is where my father was a professor for 45 years or something like that. I can count exactly if you're interested. And they became very close when Mitch was a student, and I think my father was even his advisor. He was definitely a sociology major, which is my father's field, and it's described very in detail in the book. I can't remember how much is in the play, but they were very close, and Mitch gave my father a briefcase, and my father was crying, and Mitch said, of course I'll stay in touch. And then there was no communication for 16 years, right? Mitch graduated in 79, and in 95, my father was ill and was on the Ted Koppel show called Nightline. And Mitch saw it and was like, oh my God, my old professor is ill. I mean, this part I'm sure you guys know from having seen the play. And he came back, oops, sorry. And he came back, and there was a very, big revival of their deep bond and friendships. And absolutely, I mean, all of that is completely true to life. There are some things in the play, not so much in the book. The book is pretty much, I'd have to think very carefully, but the book is pretty much 100% accurate. There are a couple of things in the play where Mitch sort of took artistic license that are not exactly true to life. And if you want me to point them out, I can, because the book and the play are slightly different, right? And so there's a few things where Mitch tried to use this opposition between
Mm.
my father and himself, and in some cases, he pushed my father into a box, which actually isn't true. But if you're interested, I can tell you.
Well, no, it's interesting because I suppose with plays or film, you need that dramatic element, that struggle, if you like, to keep the audience going. Maybe just give us one example, which was maybe not so true.
Okay, so the one example I can give you specifically relates to the opposition is Mitch, as I said, he drew this opposition between my father is, really concerned about human relationships, and he's all about his career. Mitch was a sports writer. Before Tuesdays with Morrie, Mitch was a very, very successful sports writer. In fact, he was AP Sports Writer of the Year 10 times. So he was very successful. So because of that, he pushed my father into this box of, oh, he doesn't know anything about sports. Well, that's actually not real. That's actually not true. My father was an avid sports fan. He took me to a huge number of sporting events as a kid. So it's in deep contrast to my childhood. We're from Boston. We're actually crazy about our sports teams in Boston. So we went to Fenway Park all the time. We went to the Boston Garden all the time. My father was very well informed about basketball and baseball and etc. So that part is actually not true.
Oh, that's great. And it sounds like you spent a lot of time with your dad.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
What
very,
what
very close. Yeah.
what were
Yeah.
your favorite things to do together?
Well, we went to a lot of sporting events. I mean, as mentioned earlier, so I went off to college, when I was 18. Then after college, I moved to Japan. So I would only come back sporadically. So we're more or less talking about my growing up, my childhood and growing up. But yeah, we went to a lot of sporting events together. There was a lot of family outings, a lot of family vacations, that sort of thing. If you want specific memories, I can give you some specific memories, but absolutely, we spent a lot of time together. And yeah, we're very, very close.
Lovely.